another episode of Single in the City. I'm your host, Genesis Moore, along with my beautiful co-host, Mr. Justin C. Gilbert. He's a man, but yes, he's also beautiful, mind and spirit. And also my lovely, beautiful co-host, Miss Tiara Berry.
What's
here
up?
today for another episode of Single in the City.
Yes.
And guys, let me tell you, the girls have been calling, they've been calling. They've got a lot to say.
What they got to say this week?
Okay, so this one just came across my desk. You know, don't shoot the messenger, but there is a beautiful young lady, okay? Awesome girl, girl. But she is deeply in love or in lust with someone and has been seeing this guy for about 4 years. 4 years.
Wow.
However, he has gotten, you know, a girlfriend in that time. It was not her, you know, someone else.
Oh, wow.
Also, he lives a life where he likes multiple women, but she's still very much so in love with him, and I think it really does bother her on what to do and how to cut the cord on this relationship. And I'll be honest, y'all, that girl was once me, so I'm trying to help my friend out. I mean, I know what it's like. So we got to ask, like, you know, what do the girls do? What's y'all's advice?
Wow.
Well, you know, I think my biggest advice is for her to be honest with herself about what does she really want, you know, from him, period. Like, do you think he's about to change for you? Do you think he's going to change for himself and be a better man, just in general, to women in general? Are you ready to move on? And if so, what does that look like for you? So I think that my question that I would throw it back at your friend is, what are your expectations from this person? Because if you've been dealing with the same thing for 4 years, I think that's the definition of insanity. If nothing's changing. So I think that she has to look inward and see, is there something that's not mathing, adding up, when it comes to what she's willing to put up with and deal with and her own self-worth. And maybe she just has the wrong expectations for this person. It's not to say she isn't worthy of love. I'm sure she's a beautiful, wonderful person that over the past 4 years has probably been more than giving and more than affectionate and more than worthy of love from this specific person. And she just has to find a way to move on.
Wow. That was a mouthful. You said that, though. I like what you said. I think it would be wise for her to also assess the pros and cons of this relationship. How is it beneficial? How is it negatively impacting her life? I would suggest maybe going on a him fast. You know what I'm saying? A him fast. Carve out a specific time where you can, you know, I guess, consume yourself, that sort of thing, and like go for a period of time without speaking to this person and see how that energy, how that feels, you know what I'm saying? Energy without that person. And then, you know, it's tough to be, I can imagine it's tough for someone to be in that situation, but she's got to do a deep dive and figure out why she's more comfortable surviving on the fumes of familiarity rather than thriving in a loving relationship.
Right.
So it's a couple of things, but those would be my 3 cents.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of that meme of like the little girl with a teddy bear, and it's Jesus right there with the bigger teddy bear behind his back, and she's like, "But I want this one," and he's like, "No, behind my back I have something so much better if you just trust me."
Yeah.
And I think in this situation, she needs to trust the process, that life will only get better for her if she learns how to move on from this toxic situationship.
I mean, hey, that was a mouthful right there. But I will be honest with you, okay? Now, this is me being vulnerable with everybody and with our Single in the City family at home. But, hey, when I was younger, I was definitely in a situation like this before. And so I understood her when she said, like, wow, but it's just like, but you look at what you're getting from a person, right? And sometimes it's a lot harder to say, I'm getting all these great things from this person. They just won't do this one thing or this 2 things that I need them to do. And then you start to think to yourself like, okay, maybe I should just change my expectations that I have for what I want. Maybe what I want isn't really what I want, or because I really like this person and all these different things that this person gives me and internally, like emotionally and spiritually, but they just won't do this one thing, which is just like commit. And so and I'm sure some of my other homegirls at home are kind of in the same situation, all right? We don't always date people that we know 100% are committed to us.
I think it's about what are you venting about, and what do you really want to tell your friends that are there for you and support you and want the best for you? Because if you were to say, hey, he does this, and that, he's just not doing this, I'm gonna say, well, are you happy? Are you happy?
Right.
If you like it, I love it. Yeah. Because, you know, sometimes with friendships, especially with our girlfriends, things like that, we start to hate the man that they with, and then 2 weeks later, they out on doing this, doing that. You be like, girl, you told me you was done with him. Now I don't know whether to hate him or love him. He on the phone, hey, and I'm like, I don't like you. But it's a weird dynamic that'll affect a friendship sometimes if you're trying to help your friend get over somebody and they're not ready for that. Yeah. So I think it's for her to decide what is she willing to put up with, and she needs to stop complaining if she gonna stay. Okay. Don't come to me with that if you just gonna stick around.
That is true. And I'll tell you what I told her, you know, being on the other side now, right? So it comes from inside. You know, I think anytime you decide that you don't want to be with a person anymore for whatever the reason could be, doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad person or you're a bad person. Could just be bad timing. Right. Could just be y'all aren't seeing eye to eye. It's hard for y'all to get on the same page. All these different things. But you got to stop. I told her, I was like, stop and ask yourself, what do you want? Yeah. And put it down, like, when you think of, like, yourself in your ideal situation, ask yourself, like, what do you want? And if this is not in alignment with what you want, then you got to make the hard decision. And sometimes it might seem that walking away is the worst answer because of the pain. And I think sometimes, you know, we get so caught up in like, this is gonna hurt me so bad. I gotta go through all these emotions.
And I've already invested all of this time.
Oh yeah, I've grieved and all this stuff. And then now you stop and you look up one day and you're just like, hey, I don't wanna waste time. Yep. And I'm valuable, my time is valuable, what I want is valuable, and it's important to me. And if this isn't in alignment with it, sometimes you just have to, you know, cut the cord.
That's a good one.
That's what I told her.
Justin, question for you.
Shoot.
Do you feel like women tend to be more emotional when it comes to breakups?
Generally speaking, yes. Yes, there have been, you know, a few instances I've seen where men took it extremely hard, and they were like inconsolable and in a completely out of sorts. But generally, I think women take that you know, to heart a certain way, and I wonder, like, as you were speaking, I was wondering about, like, well, I started thinking, like, man, that's probably why they admonish us not to have premarital sex, because that definitely deepens the connection. And I mean, sex is that one thing that we do with our entire being, head to toe. Every part of us
twinkle toes
in that. So it's like, so that, you know, that can really only exacerbate all the emotions, and I mean, I couldn't even imagine what that young lady is feeling. I feel for her, but you know, it's one of those things. It's tough.
Oh yeah, it's definitely an inner, you know, decision first.
Yes.
And then it's just like what you said. It's like your mind has to go first and leave it, as a woman at least, you know. Then the body follows.
Yeah. Well, that's a great start to an even greater conversation that we have in store for you. Stay right there. Single in the City will be right back after these messages.
Dear moms and dads, we know it's not always been easy, and it's been a lot of hard work.
Tell me it's not worth trying
What you have achieved here today is going to help us and our futures. It is why we are coming up on stage to collect your diplomas.
Everything I do it for you.
Mom, love you all.
No, it's true. Everything I do it for you.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Today, man, we got a real one for you. We coming with some of these braised oxtail. Nice and tender.
Welcome back. We are here, still single, in the city. I am your host, Tiara Berry, with my co-host, Justin C. Gilbert, Genesis Moore, and we are ready to jump back into the next segment. Today's episode, we are talking about all things breakups, and I have a question to pose for you, too. All right. What factors should be taken into consideration when breaking up with another person? What you got on your mind when you go into that conversation?
Well, I think first and foremost, timing. Because if life hasn't taught me anything else, is that the right thing said at the wrong time becomes the wrong thing to say. So you gotta consider.
Write that down. You said the right thing.
The right thing said at the wrong time becomes the wrong thing to say.
Yeah.
So even if it is from a place of depth and truth,
Yeah.
if you say it, you know what I'm saying, at your baby shower, you know, it's like, this is just a terrible idea.
Not when he got on the Burberry. Come on now. We thought we was in this.
So I would say timing. What are you thinking, Jen?
I'm thinking mutual obligations. Like what you said, the baby. When she's 8 months pregnant is probably not the best time to say that.
Don't bust the windows out your
I'm telling you, or like just had the baby, probably not the best time to say that. Or if it's just you guys are in a transition phase as well. Like, you know, I would view, I don't have any children, but I would view children as being a transition phase for a relationship.
Absolutely.
So it's like to break up with somebody during the transition, I think that's also off time. You know, I don't think that's okay to do. Because it's just like, if you can't weather the storm with me, do you really need to be there during the sunshine?
Right.
But I don't know, what about you, T? What do you say?
I think when it comes to the different factors, I was thinking about how much will it shock each other's life. More so my life, because maybe I'm selfish, I don't know. But if I think about breaking up with someone, I think about how will that impact me? And I think in the past, I break up slowly, and I kind of take an inch out at a time, to the point that by the time it's over, I've already kind of got a daily routine that doesn't involve talking to them multiple times throughout the day, or I don't see them or expect to see them during the week, or things like that. Or when you do that, then it's less shocking when it's actually over. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that breakups hurt more when you have the habit of that person being there. And it takes time to break a habit.
Yes.
So I think that's the factor, the biggest factor that needs to be taken into consideration is how much will it shock your life? You know how like I don't want it to be like, oh, he just threw cold water on me and now I don't know what to do. Or he threw me in a pool and I can't swim without him. I tend to back away slowly. And I think for me, that's the factor that I take into consideration. How can I live without them when they're still there?
That's interesting. So speaking of detachment styles, it's like we be so quick to tell people, like, I'm falling for you. Why don't we tell them the same? Like, this is starting to become a nuisance. This is becoming something that is adding an undue stress to my life, and I don't see it lasting much longer. Like, we don't give people that heads up. I mean, you know,
that is true.
It would be strange to do it just because it typically isn't done, but I don't know, man. Like,
No, I don't think that's strange to do it. I think that's honestly a very mature way to communicate with someone. I think if you, like you said, if you shock someone, it's shocking if this is my first time hearing it.
right.
And you say you love me, but you've never given me an opportunity to correct it, right? Because this might be something that I do out of habit that I don't even know.
Right.
You know, I take my shoes off at the door. You might be like, take them to the bedroom or something like that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, if you never told me that that gets on your nerves, you know, and then now all of a sudden you're ready to break up with me after doing it for 15 years. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
who's at fault here?
Right. Right.
Yeah, and people do have like the oddest pet peeves. Like, I think in one of my relationships, he doesn't, not to say this is current, like I'm in so many relationships. Don't take it, please don't take it that
It's
way.
like, whatever, okay.
One of my relationships,
One of my squad members. So one
Please.
player I got on my
one
team.
player doesn't like that when I decline a call or don't answer, I don't text and say, I'm gonna call you back or I'm gonna this or that. I just decline and be like, I'll hit them later.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
when I
yikes.
call them, they immediately text me back saying, hey, I can't talk right now, or I'm gonna call you back. You know those auto messages that come up for those iPhone users?
Yeah.
They'll always say it's one of those, and I just call back 4 hours later. Some people find that inconsiderate. You know, like if I call you and you don't answer, but I know you're on your phone, say something. So I think those are the little pet peeves in relationships that when it comes to like breakups, it's already bigger than it had to be because people weren't communicating within those situations.
Yeah, and I think, well, even in that, it's important to express your communication style. Like, if that's important, like for me, if you screen my call and you don't at least text me back or something like that, and I know it went 2 times, I'm offended, you know, but I'm gonna tell you I'm offended.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I really don't like that you do that. Not you just ig my call. Like, what's going on? You know, it better be important. It's like, and then they tell you the reason, you know, and you're like, oh, okay, well, it was important. But I think it's all about communicating within that time frame before you get to the breakup.
Right.
If the relationship and that person is important to you.
Right.
Now, for people that are maybe not as, you know, on that level, you know, in my mind, like, this is a person I really want to keep around. I might not be as talkative. You know, they might do something that rubs me the wrong way, and and that's something I can work on. That's my growth spot in life, I'll say it. But it's like, you might do something that rubs me the wrong way. I might just say, do I really want to give that level of energy and communication to this person that I really don't care for that much?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
Keep on. You'll be out of here in a
Yeah.
month.
Yo, that is hilarious. I mean, we all know that resentment grows in the dark. So it's like, it's that challenge of possibly seeming petty
Yeah.
to always be bringing up stuff that you don't like, or to, you know, let it build and keep watching it because you want to make sure it is a habit.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I think of things in like threes. Like there's an incident, there's a coincidence, and then there's a pattern. So I'm watching three things.
I love that.
I'm watching for 3 things. So I'm gonna let you do it 3 times, and then I'm gonna say, hey, that right there, I can't deal with it. That does this. This is why I don't like it, and I would appreciate it if we could not continue without that.
Right. And I don't think, you know, it comes off as nagging and it comes off as it's too invasive when you do it for every little
Right.
thing. So I love that rule that
Yeah.
you brought up where it's like, and it gives people time to watch.
Yep.
Because so many times people get in relationships and the first thing they want to start doing is talking.
Right.
About what they don't like and what they do like. It's like,
Right.
you haven't even been here long.
Yeah.
You don't even know what's going
Just got
on.
on the team. You just
I say this all the time,
Still
even
doing
about
the drills.
coworkers. I be like, just watch. You know, when I used to manage people, I used to be like, look, don't tell me nothing about what you don't like for the first month.
Yes.
Write it down. I just want you to watch. And then after you get done watching, and if it's still a problem in 30 days, it still bothers you because you've noticed that it's a habit, then you can come back to me and then we'll talk about a solution. But don't just keep throwing stuff out there.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
nagging.
Yeah.
Right. That's good. I like that, and I think that gives everyone an opportunity to like correct it. I mean, because if it goes poorly and people are attentive to body language and emotionally intelligent, they might peep how you look at
Moving
it, and then it's like,
Yeah.
let's talk about it. So I like that little 3 strikes.
I love that. And, honestly, I do feel like if we're going back to your original question of what factors play in there, I would say financial obligations are a large thing as well. So when
Right.
you're considering if you want to break up with a person, kind of looking at what you guys have together and how you split things currently and what that looks like moving forward. So, and it's a lot of responsibility, especially when you talk about you live with someone or you share a car note with someone, or, different things like
Sure,
that.
a car note.
Not the car.
Well, I mean, or they pay your
Pick
car
me
note.
up at
Oh.
2.
You got 2 cars, but they pay both the car notes and the insurance.
Yeah,
Share.
girl, and the insurance.
You
That's
know,
right.
People split their bills very different ways for their household. So I think taking all of those factors into consideration, and then of course how much you love and respect that person is definitely something you should consider. But that's a pretty good stopping point for us right there. We'll be right back, guys. We're having a great conversation when it comes to this. So stay tuned for Single in the City.
Today, we face an unprecedented crisis. Tens of millions of refugees have been forced from their homes. But you can make a difference. Turn disruption and despair to hope and opportunity. Even small amounts make a big difference. Provide shelter, support, or jobs in your community. The more we understand, the greater sense of belonging we create. Act now. Visit supportcrisisrelief.org.
How would you define theopolitics?
There are politics that are attached to our theology, how people move about whether or not it's appropriate for men to observe other men as God moves or the Holy Spirit moves about them. These are unsaid or unspoken aspects of how we understand what is appropriate or competent in worship leadership, but they are at work nevertheless. And so that person who is demonstrative, who is animated, who causes us to touch and encounter God, and their ability to do so also makes us think about who they are connected to and what their identity is beyond the worship leader.
Welcome back to Single in the City. I am your host, Justin Gilbert, joined by my beautiful and brilliant co-hosts, Miss Genesis Moore, Tiara Berry.
I guess that is me.
Listen, we are having a very thought-provoking conversation about breakups and what that really entails. And right now, I think it would be helpful to our viewership and ourselves if we could discuss some breakup tips.
Wow. I mean, are we the experts?
I mean,
For the
sake
of this
for the sake of this conversation, we will be.
I think I've earned my stripes, guys.
I've
To
been through my
consider
fair
myself.
share, of endings, grand opening, grand closing.
okay. You know what I'm saying? Well, let's start with this. When is it appropriate to break up?
When is it appropriate? When you done? When you over it?
Okay, so this applies to all level of entertainment. Like if we've been out on, we're just hanging out from time to time. We kicking it. Do the breakups, do situationships deserve breakups?
No. I think it depends on the level of the situation.
Uh-oh. Speak on that.
Because there's levels, it's levels to it.
Everything.
It's
Come on, Meek Mill.
nuance. It's nuance.
Teach us.
You know, when you been hanging out, and then all of a sudden you just be like, I'm not feeling it, it's kind of hard to say that. Especially if the other person is feeling it more than you are. you know, because you don't want to hurt nobody. But at the same time, you just want to be clear, like, hey, I think I'm going to focus on myself. I think I'm going to do me a little bit. I have some things going on at work, at home, family.
Wow.
I'm getting closer with God.
Oh, God.
Sorry, God. But I think that there's a way to soften the blow depending on, you know, the other person. Because sometimes you just realize, you know, this isn't for you. And that other person could really like you and, you know, take it as a breakup when you were just trying to say, hey, I don't think we should hang out anymore, you know.
Okay.
So I think you have to be kind sometimes.
Well, I think, of course, being kind. I do think, though, if it's a situationship, something drastic has to happen. Because if we're in a situationship and not a relationship, I'm just going to go ahead and say something toxic is going on. It's like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's something about this ain't sitting right because you don't want to really be in a relationship. We're in a situationship. So it's like, you know, it could be you did something I didn't like, and you felt your way about it, and I felt mine, and we couldn't come to a common ground.
Right.
And this is not our first time having this rodeo. You know, this is maybe we've done this roller coaster ride a few times, and I'm tired. I want to get off. So I just feel like when it's like I want to get off, I'm just gonna be like, okay, and I'll just probably not call you back, not text you back, not give you any attention.
But see, sometimes I feel like that's what even makes situationships harder because I feel like men like the cat and mouse.
Cap. I call cap.
So, with that being with that being said, I think that if, like to your point, I'm done with it, I'm kind of over it, I'm moving on.
Yeah.
Sometimes in situationships specifically, that'll entice a man to try harder, not to be in a relationship with you, but just to keep you around. You know, like, oh, she can't do that before I do that, because, I mean, I can't lose her
I definitely do agree with that.
You know?
But I think that's a person thing, you know, and I honestly feel that most situationships end when one person has outgrown that situation, right? So whether it's you or him, when one person outgrows a situation and be like, I don't want to play no more.
That's a real talk right there.
I don't want to play no more,
It's
period.
like, there's nothing you can do to get me to go back and do this because it's like, I don't want to play anymore. I'm over this. I want something different. I've made up my mind. I'm out. So even if it's the man or the woman, I just think it's up to that person who said, I don't want to do this anymore, to stick to their guns and actually make it happen. And I don't think you owe the other person any type of response, you know? You could, maybe if like, you know, I've done that before, it was like if we have a disagreement, I say, I don't like this, I don't like this, and I don't like this. We talked about it. You clearly don't respect where I stand on this situation. So if that's the case, don't worry. I'm going to leave.
Don't worry about it.
And we don't have to talk anymore. It is what it is.
I think there are some ways to be careful about it. Okay, I never quite thought about that like that, but cool. Careful, full of care, to like so if this person, if I do not detest this person, which I can't think of anyone right now in my phone that I detest, I could just delay my responses to text messages and just make it so that if this person reaches out saying, hey, let's link, I would sleep. I'll hit you tomorrow morning. You know what I'm saying?
That's stiff, like, that's bad,
That's stiff like the end. You sound like
it
me.
is still communicating, and it is not, it is not abandoning that person, because we have to be mindful of that, because these are people. These are people, and if we have ever cared about them, if we do not detest them, if we do not wish that they were no longer with us, then I think it's important that we manage them with some bit of care. Please talk to me.
I think that's problematic.
Please pick me.
What you think?
I just want to say, and TR, you help me with this one, all right, if you do agree. Sometimes men don't give women the benefit of the doubt of believing that we can handle when you guys give us the truth. So if you would just say, if we say, do you want to link? No, I don't want to link because, you know, I'm not going to lie. Last time we linked, I really just didn't have a good time. I think I'm just kind of moving in a different direction. That would be hurtful, yes, before a day or two. The not keeping it 100, you know, that to me, the linger thing just makes it so much worse because like as a person, as a woman, for me, somebody's done that to me before and I've kind of been like, well, I don't know what I did. And I don't know where we stand.
Okay.
And that makes me think that you don't really care about me.
And then that's when I start to play. Because if you sleep, I'm dead. Like, it's just like, okay, go to bed then. Because you ain't never got to worry about me no more.
I guess what I'm speaking to is on that journey to separating. Once you've kind of like, you've made up in your mind, okay.
In the situationship, right? Not the relationship.
No,
right.
Definitely not in a relationship. Situationship, I say you kind of start creating space. Just start interrupting the normal cycle and creating a new dynamic. So as you shift, it can go from, okay, yeah, you reached out last night, I'll respond in the morning. Hopefully you're getting that. Eventually it's going to be nothing, you know what I'm saying? Or like, nah, I'll see you around.
So you're a slow simmer 'em out type of person.
I mean, I'm careful, you know, especially if we care for each other, we were good to each other, the vibes was cool. It's just, you know, there's just we've reached a couple of impasses that I no longer wish to deal with.
I think it depends on also how long you've been doing it, you know, because it's like if we've been talking for like a year and then you slowly but surely let it phase out, it's like I thought we was cool enough to have that conversation. You know, I think it depends on time and how well of a friendship that you have, because if you notice someone starting to treat you differently, you'll ask questions like, okay, you said you was asleep, but I don't think you was asleep. And then what? You know, it's like, and then what? And then it's like, okay, be real, be upfront, be honest, and don't think I can't handle the truth.
Well, let me ask you this. You do that for a situationship. How do you handle relationship breakups?
Oh, I'm to the point with care, though.
Okay, so walk us through what that looks like.
Okay, so if I decide I want to break up with someone, and we've moved past all our other options as far as breaks, and you know what I'm saying, like, you know, that sort of thing. If we're saying, okay, yeah, we need to cut this.
Clean cut.
I will tell that person as soon as I arrive at that destination of thought.
Like, where is it gonna happen at? What do you like? What do you do to prep? Like, what do you say?
Well,
I want to know the details.
You definitely need to have a speech. You need to know what you're going to say so that you're not overwhelmed in the moment and unable to say what needs to be said. So I would say practice your talking points. Know what you're going to highlight. Know what you're going to say.
Okay.
And then I'd say if you don't fear that your safety is in jeopardy, I would suggest that it's done in person.
Okay.
Meet this person face to face and tell them give them the poetry of your heart in that moment. Hey, this has been an amazing thing. I always like to start positive. I always like to start positive.
Sandwich method.
Okay.
It's like positive, then what's really going on, then sweetness.
So we're gonna. I mean,
I've done this more than a few times.
I've been around, a couple moons. So I'd say I would sandwich it. I appreciate you. I'm grateful that you've been in my life. You've been a part of my journey. You know, this. At this point, I am looking to do this, and I sense that we aren't on the same page with that. I sense that you are going in this direction, and I am going here. And I think it makes sense. I think it makes the best sense for us to separate and no longer operate under the relationship umbrella the way we've been going about it.
Okay, that's fair.
I think for me, my thing is I just kind of like cut off and be like, you knew this was going to happen.
Yikes.
You saw this coming because you saw what you was doing.
So you just like, all right, it don't matter like at any time when I'm over it, and I've gotten to my boiling point, doesn't matter.
Because I can't fake it. I can't be like, oh, like let's just wait until we can try again. And let me talk, let me reiterate what I reiterated already.
Are you a text message breaker-upper or like a long message person? Because there are people.
I think I'll send a long message, but I only got one long message in me. I'm not with the back and forth and all of that. I'm gonna send you one long message and then be like, And if you try to text me, you might be blocked.
So let me ask y'all this. Is it appropriate to offer feedback during a breakup on why you don't want to be with that person anymore?
I think they know.
I'd say only if they ask.
I think we give people, we don't assume people are as smart as they really are in a breakup. They know what they did.
Okay.
That's not always true, though. That's not always true. And because we are different, and so much of how we handle these relationships is caught, some people might not even be aware of how they move and how that affects you, especially if you haven't given them a heads up about what bothers you. So if it is grown in the dark and now we've reached an impasse, I cannot take it no more from you, they could be blindsided potentially. So I think to assume that someone is aware of why they're being broken up with.
I guess I gotta date some higher IQs or something.
I'm saying, well, I just think that in the end, what we're all saying, I hope I speak for all of us in saying that you do have to be mindful and careful and handle people with love and the love of God.
Amen.
Especially when you're breaking up with them, so you don't do any unnecessary damage to them than what's already going to be done by the severance of that relationship in their life, right?
Right.
So I think that's a great way to kind of wrap it up.
That is a great way.
I think,
Don't let people play with you, okay? Don't let them play with you, y'all. And on that note, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode of Single in the City.
Yes.
You can probably see why we are all still single. So see you all on our next episode. It was amazing hanging out with you, and have a great week.
You're my lucky strike.